In this video, we'll look at 20 forgotten celebrities currently rotting in jail. You remember them? Michael Jace. Michael Jace, the actor known to audiences as LAPD officer Julian Lowe in the series The Shield, saw his life and career utterly crumble in 2014. He committed an unforgivable act. On the night of May 19, 2014, in a fit of extreme rage, Jace shot and killed his wife, April Jace, right in their Los Angeles home. Their two young children, only 5 and 8 years old, were present. In court, testimony revealed that Jace shot his wife once in the back and twice in the leg. Even more horrifying, he was reportedly heard telling April, who was a runner, "If you want to run, then run to heaven." Immediately after the shooting, Jace called 911 and confessed to his actions. By the time police arrived at the scene, April Jace was lifeless. In 2016, Michael Jace was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 40 years to life in prison. At 53 years old when sentenced, Jace will not be eligible for parole until he serves at least 40 years. This means he might be released in his early 90s, around 2056. Jace is currently serving his sentence at Corcoran State Prison. A belated apology from Jace in court could not heal the wounds he inflicted on his family. Danny Masterson. Danny Masterson, famous for his role as Stephen Hyde in the hit sitcom That 70s Show, was plagued for years by accusations of sexual assault. This culminated in his imprisonment. The accusations against Masterson date back to the early 2000s, when he was at the peak of his fame. Multiple victims came forward, accusing Masterson of sexual assault at his Hollywood Hills home between 2001 and 2003. A complicating factor in the case was the influence of the Church of Scientology, of which Masterson was a prominent member. Victims stated they were pressured by the church not to report the incidents to authorities. Some were even coerced into signing non-disclosure agreements or offered money to remain silent. The Me Too movement in 2017 empowered brave victims to come forward. The investigation led to Masterson's arrest in 2020. Prosecutors argued that his behavior was predatory. He often provided alcohol to impair the victim's judgment before assaulting them. The consequences for Masterson were swift and severe. He was fired from his role in Netflix's The Ranch series, ending his promising career. After a long and closely watched trial in May 2023, the jury convicted Masterson of 2 counts of forcible sexual assault. He was sentenced to 30 years to life in prison. At 47 years old when sentenced, he will not be eligible for parole until he is at least 77, projected for around 2053. During the sentencing hearing, Judge Charlene Olmedo told him, "You are not the victim here. You took away the voice and choice of your victims, and now you will face the consequences." Masterson is currently serving his sentence at California State Prison, Corcoran. His lawyers have filed an appeal, but the chances of success are considered slim. Do you remember these celebrities or their shocking crimes? There are even more disturbing cases ahead that most people have never heard of. Comment 1 if you want to see the next jaw-dropping story. Joe Sun. Joe Sun, the actor remembered for his role as Random Task in the hit comedy film Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery in 1997, is currently serving 34 years to life in prison. This stems from his involvement in a brutal crime in 1990 that remained unsolved for nearly 2 decades. On Christmas Eve 1990, Sun and an accomplice named Santiago Gaitan committed a horrific crime in Huntington Beach, California. They forced a 19-year-old woman into a car at gunpoint. Then they took her to a secluded area and sexual assault, beaten and tortured her for hours, leaving her naked and traumatized on the side of the road. This case went cold for years until 2008 when Sun was arrested for an unrelated probation violation. During booking, his DNA sample was taken and matched evidence from the 1990 attack. Although the statute of limitations for sexual assault had expired, he was still prosecuted for torture. In 2011, a California jury convicted him. Sun was sentenced to 7 years to life in prison. But that was not the end. Just 1 month after his incarceration, Joe Sun was accused of killing his cellmate, Michael Graham, also known as Charles Graham. Sun had beaten and strangled Graham to death. Although Sun initially claimed self-defense, he eventually pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter. In 2017, he was sentenced to an additional 27 years in prison for this killing. This 27-year sentence was stacked on top of his existing life sentence. That means this sentence would not begin until his life sentence concluded. Joe's son is currently serving 34 years to life in prison. Bobby Bozel. Bobby Bozel was once a figure in California's underground music and film scene in the 1960s. He played guitar and participated in art films. However, his life took a dark turn when he joined Charles Manson in the summer of 1969. On July 25, 1969, Bozel, along with other members of the Manson family, went to the home of Gary Hinman, a music teacher and occasional drug dealer. Hinman was tortured for 2 days. He was slashed with a sword and ultimately stabbed to death by Bozel on July 27th. The group smeared political piggy in Hinman's blood on the wall. They drew a paw print, intending to blame the Black Panthers and trigger the race war that Manson believed was imminent. Bozel was arrested a few days later while driving Hinman's stolen car. In April 1970, he was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to death. 2 years later, the California Supreme Court overturned the death penalty and his sentence was commuted to life imprisonment. Although he continued to compose music in prison, those works could not erase his crimes. For decades, he was denied parole numerous times. Despite parole boards approving his release in 2019 and 2022, the California governor rejected these decisions. The governor stated that his crimes were heinous and Bozel still lacked true insight into what he had done. Bobby Bozel has been in prison for over 50 years. Dreschel. Dreschel, the star of the popular show American Ninja Warrior, had an admirable career before he plummeted into disgrace in 2020. He was arrested for crimes related to the sexual abuse of children. The case originated from a 2019 investigation when a teenage girl accused Dreschel of initiating an inappropriate relationship with her in 2015 when she was just 15 years old. This relationship included sexually explicit messages and progressed to physical encounters. A deeper investigation uncovered further evidence of sensitive messages and images between Dreschel and minors. This suggested the potential distribution of material depicting child sexual abuse. Dreschel's arrest sent shockwaves through the American Ninja Warrior community. Show producers quickly severed all ties, removing all images and materials of him. Sponsors and partners also terminated their contracts. This shattered his career and reputation overnight. In 2023, Dreschel pleaded guilty to 1 count of receipt of illegal material depicting the sexual abuse of children and 1 count of inducing a minor to travel across state lines for sexual purposes. In 2024, he was sentenced to 10 years and 1 month in federal prison, followed by 15 years of supervised release. He was also ordered to pay $100,000 in restitution to the victim. At 35 years old when incarcerated, Dreschel is projected to be released around 2034. Zaraian. Zaraian, the actress known for her role in the film Doctor Strange, faced a major downfall when she was convicted in 2022 in a disturbing child sexual abuse case alongside her husband Victor Mark. Both were convicted of abusing a young girl over an extended period. The victim stated the abuse began in 2005, initiated by a dare from Fithian. The girl was then coerced into performing and recording explicit acts with the couple, actions that continued for some time and were carefully concealed. At trial, prosecutors revealed that Mark was considered the primary manipulator in the relationship. Fithian's defense argued that Mark's influence played a role in her actions, but the judge ruled that both were to be held fully accountable for their crimes. Fithian, who had achieved some success as a martial artist and actress, saw her career and public image crumble as the details of the abuse came to light. As a result of the trial, Zaraian was sentenced to 8 years in prison while her husband received a 14-year sentence. Fithian, 37 years old when sentenced, is expected to serve at least half her sentence before being eligible for parole, meaning her projected release date is around 2026. Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein was once one of the most powerful film producers in Hollywood. He had immense influence over numerous award-winning projects and the careers of countless actors. However, he is now in prison after being convicted of a string of sex crimes. He became the epicenter of one of the biggest scandals in entertainment history. Weinstein's downfall began in 2017, when brave women came forward to accuse him of misconduct, harassment, and sexual assault. This ignited the global Me Too movement. For decades, Weinstein abused his power and influence to manipulate, coerce, and assault multiple women. He silenced them with threats of career ruin. In February 2020, Weinstein was convicted of third-degree sexual assault and first-degree criminal sexual act related to 2 women. He was sentenced to 23 years in prison in New York. However, in 2024, the New York Court of Appeals overturned this conviction, citing that Weinstein did not receive a fair trial. The court argued that some women's testimonies should not have been admitted as they were not named in the main charges. Nevertheless, Weinstein's legal troubles did not end there. In California, he faced additional charges related to 5 women from 2004 to 2013. In 2022, a Los Angeles jury convicted him of forcible sexual assault and sexual battery involving multiple women. He received an additional 16-year sentence to begin after he completes his New York sentence, if any. This sentence virtually guarantees that Weinstein will spend the rest of his life in prison. Josh Duggar. Josh Duggar, a familiar face from the reality TV show 19 Kids and Counting, experienced a staggering downfall. It culminated in his arrest and imprisonment in 2021 for crimes involving minors. Although there were revelations in 2015 about his inappropriate behavior with 5 underage girls, including his sisters when they were teenagers, no legal charges were filed at the time. However, in 2019, federal authorities began investigating Duggar's online activities. The investigation revealed that Duggar had used the dark web to download illegal content involving minors. According to court documents, Duggar installed sophisticated software on his computer to circumvent the internet monitoring program his wife used. This allowed him to access videos and images undetected. An investigator described the material as among the worst he had ever encountered in his career. Duggar was arrested in April 2021 and charged with 2 counts, receipt and possession of illegal material involving minors. In December 2021, he was convicted on both counts. In May 2022, Duggar was sentenced to 12.5 years in federal prison. He, then 34 years old, is incarcerated at FCI Segerville in Texas. With good behavior, he could be released in 2032 at approximately 44 years old. Rasheed Bird. Rasheed Bird was once a promising figure, standing over 6 feet 10 inches tall. He played 1 season for the Los Angeles Defenders, a Lakers affiliate team. Although he didn't make it to the NBA, his stature and presence earned him a small role in Will Ferrell's movie Semi-Pro. However, behind the facade of a former athlete, something far darker was at play. In 2019, everything began to unravel when a woman reported a horrifying story to the LAPD. Detectives quickly discovered this was not an isolated incident. Bird had previously been convicted of sexual assault in 2010. Prior to that, he was arrested in 2005 in Washington for assaulting another young woman. What detectives uncovered was deeply disturbing. Bird had a pattern of behavior. He used his image as a former athlete and minor celebrity to meet women, often online. Initially, he was charming, friendly, and confident. But once he gained their trust, his behavior changed. Detective Dar Brown, who led the case, simply explained, "That charm turned to violence. That's how it started. That's how it always started." The attacks were not limited to Los Angeles. From 2015 to 2020, Bird targeted women across multiple counties. On September 20th, 2020, Bird was finally arrested. The subsequent trial exposed everything: the manipulation, the lies, the brutality. The charges involved multiple victims and numerous assaults. It became clear this was not someone who made a mistake, but someone who knew exactly what he was doing, repeatedly. On March 1st, 2024, the court sentenced him to 90 years to life in prison. That number was no coincidence. It reflected the horror and the repetition of his crimes. It means Rasheed Bird will die behind bars. Jared Fogle. Jared Fogle, once the famous Subway guy, an icon of successful weight loss and healthy living, saw his image completely shattered in 2015. An investigation revealed his involvement in crimes involving minors. Fogle's downfall began in 2015 when the FBI investigated Russell Taylor, the director of Fogle's charity, the Jared Foundation, and his close associate. This investigation led to the discovery of illegal material involving minors being produced and distributed. Subsequently, Fogle's electronic devices were also seized. These revealed messages, emails, and records proving his involvement in the sexual abuse of children. Fogle had solicited inappropriate visual content from minors and engaged in illegal cross-state activity. Fogle's actions were not only criminal but exceptionally hypocritical. He had used his public image to promote health and positive lifestyles to young people. He operated the Jared Foundation with the goal of fighting childhood obesity. However, it was later revealed that the foundation had very little real impact. Much of the fund was not used for charitable purposes. Subway immediately terminated its partnership with him. In August 2015, Fogle pleaded guilty to 2 serious charges: distribution and receipt of illegal material involving minors, and traveling across state lines for illegal sexual activity with minors. He was sentenced to 15 years and 8 months in federal prison without the possibility of parole. He was also ordered to pay $1.4 million in restitution to the victims. Fogle is currently serving his sentence at federal prison camp Englewood, Colorado. On a scale of 1 to 5, how shocked were you when you learned the truth about Jared Fogle's crimes? Comment your number and let us know your reaction. Zack Avery. Zack Avery, an aspiring actor who wanted to make a name for himself in the film industry, not just as an actor but also as an entrepreneur. He founded the company One in Capital, claiming to secure international distribution rights for English-language films. Avery presented himself as a visionary who could connect Hollywood with international markets. In presentations to investors, he claimed to have lucrative licensing deals with streaming giants like Netflix and HBO. He promised significant and rapid returns. However, the reality was Avery's deals were all fictitious. From 2014 to 2019, he orchestrated a massive Ponzi scheme, defrauding investors of approximately $650 million. He convinced investors he had exclusive distribution agreements, but instead he used their money to pay off earlier investors. This created a cycle of deception. The money he raised was not used for film projects. Instead, Avery used it to fund a lavish lifestyle with luxurious homes, designer clothes, and expensive travel. To maintain the facade, he even forged emails and contracts to reassure investors. Eventually, Avery's massive fraud unraveled. The FBI launched an investigation and revealed the extent of his fraudulent operations. The documents Avery had used to entice investors were all fabricated. The millions of dollars he claimed his company earned were non-existent. In 2022, at 35 years old, Zack Avery was convicted of securities fraud and wire fraud. He was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison and ordered to pay over $230 million in restitution to the defrauded investors. He is projected to be released in 2042 at approximately 55 years old. Will Hayden. Will Hayden, the former star of Discovery Channel's reality show Sons of Guns, was known as a skilled gunsmith and owner of Red Jacket Firearms. Hayden's television image was that of a tough, outspoken firearms expert. He was admired for his knowledge of weaponry. However, in 2014, allegations surfaced, revealing a disturbing side to Hayden's life, leading to his imprisonment for sex offenses. The accusations first emerged in August 2014, when one of Hayden's daughters accused him of sexual abuse, leading to his arrest. Initially, he denied the allegations, claiming they were fabricated. However, as the investigation continued, additional victims came forward, including another of Hayden's daughters, also accusing him of abusing her. Evidence against him quickly mounted, painting a picture of repeated abuse that had spanned many years. The specific charges against Hayden were very serious. He faced multiple counts of aggravated sexual battery, aggravated incest, and forcible sexual battery. At trial, witnesses recounted harrowing stories detailing how Hayden exploited his position of trust to manipulate and control his victims. The consequences for Hayden's career were immediate and permanent. Discovery Channel quickly cancelled Sons of Guns after his arrest. Red Jacket Firearms severed ties with him. In April 2017, Hayden was convicted of 2 counts of aggravated sexual battery and 1 count of forcible sexual battery. This resulted in 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 40 years. Subsequently, an additional life sentence was added to his conviction. This means he will spend the rest of his life in prison. Hayden is currently serving his sentence at Louisiana State Penitentiary, the largest maximum security prison in the United States, also known as the Alcatraz of the South. Skylar Deleon. Skylar Deleon, a self-proclaimed child actor whose only notable role was an obscure supporting part in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in the early 90s. But when he made headlines again, it wasn't for acting but for being a cold-blooded killer. In 2003, Deleon briefly met John Jarvis in prison. Afterward, he tricked Jarvis into investing $50,000 in a fictitious deal in Mexico. When Jarvis arrived, trusting and unaware, Deleon slit his throat and dumped his body by the side of the road. However, the next murder was even more ruthless. In November 2004, Deleon and his then-wife Jennifer Henderson, along with accomplices, posed as prospective buyers to meet Tom and Jackie Hawkes, a couple selling their yacht well-deserved. To lend an air of legitimacy, Deleon even brought his pregnant wife and their child. On November 15th, during a test run of the boat, Deleon and his accomplices overpowered the Hawks, tied them up, and forced them to sign over ownership of the yacht. Then they bound the Hawks with duct tape, tied them to a 65-pound anchor, and threw them alive into the Pacific Ocean. Their bodies were never found, adding another layer of horror and mystery to the case. Deleon was arrested in 2008 and convicted of 3 murders. On April 10, 2009, Judge Frank F. Fussell sentenced Deleon to death. He is currently held on death row at San Quentin State Prison in California. It's worth noting that the death penalty has been suspended in California since 2019. A notable detail is that while in prison, Deleon transitioned and now identifies as female. Joe Exotic. Joe Exotic, real name Joseph Allen Schreibvogel, born in 1963, is famous for his eccentric persona as the owner of the Greater Wynwood Exotic Animal Park in Oklahoma. He spent years building his brand as a big cat and exotic animal advocate. One of his biggest rivals was Carol Baskin, an animal rights activist and owner of Big Cat Rescue. Baskin frequently accused Joe of animal abuse and irresponsible practices. Joe's hatred for Carol Baskin grew, becoming an obsession. He blamed her for his financial troubles. In 2017, Joe's bitterness reached its climax. Prosecutors later revealed that he had attempted to hire a hitman to kill Baskin. He believed it was the only way to escape her relentless pressure. According to trial evidence, Joe offered $3,000 to a zoo employee to travel to Florida and carry out the murder. Additionally, authorities discovered that Joe had illegally killed 5 tigers at his zoo. He falsified wildlife records to sell endangered tiger cubs, violating the Endangered Species Act. In 2019, Joe Exotic was arrested and faced numerous charges, including 2 counts of murder for hire and multiple wildlife trafficking violations. His trial was closely followed by the public. The jury ultimately convicted him of 17 federal charges, including conspiracy to commit murder and various wildlife violations. Exotic was sentenced to 22 years, later reduced to 21 years in federal prison. At 56 years old, he is incarcerated at the Federal Medical Center in Fort Worth, Texas. Currently 60, he is projected to be released at 77. Jerry Harris. Jerry Harris, the well-known cheerleader from Netflix's Cheer, became the subject of a disturbing criminal investigation in 2020. He was once a beloved figure, rising from Navarro College's cheerleading squad to become a star of the Netflix show. However, it was this new fame and access to social media that allowed him to exploit his influence. Investigators later revealed that Harris engaged in inappropriate conversations with underage boys through social media. He often convinced them to send explicit photos and videos. He targeted minors as young as early teens and coerced them over a period of time, leveraging his status to gain their trust and manipulate their admiration. The case came to light when 2 twin brothers accused Harris of coercing them into sending explicit content. After his arrest in September 2020, Harris faced serious federal charges. These included producing sexually exploitative material involving minors and traveling across state lines with the intent to engage in illicit acts with minors. Netflix and other associated entities quickly severed all ties with him. Harris pleaded guilty in February 2022 to two of the most serious charges: one count of receipt of harmful behavior toward minors, and one count of traveling with intent to engage in sexual activity with a minor. In July 2022, he was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison, followed by 8 years of supervised release. At 22 years old, when sentenced, with good behavior, he could be released around 2034 at age 30. Shannon Richardson. Shannon Richardson, an actress with minor roles in shows like The Walking Dead and The Vampire Diaries, gained notoriety not for her acting, but for a crime that shocked the entire nation. In 2013, Richardson was arrested in a high-profile case involving conspiring to poison high-ranking government officials, specifically then-President Barack Obama. Richardson's crime began to unfold in May 2013, when ricin-laced letters, a deadly toxin derived from castor beans, were sent to prominent figures. These included President Barack Obama, New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg, and the head of a gun control advocacy group. These letters contained threatening language, warning the recipients not to infringe on citizens' gun rights. When the poisoned letters were intercepted, authorities launched a large-scale investigation to trace their origin. Initially, Richardson attempted to frame her estranged husband, Nathan Richardson. She even claimed to have found castor beans and other evidence in their home, all intended to point to Nathan. However, as investigators scrutinized her story, it began to unravel. They discovered that Shannon herself had ordered castor beans online using her computer and email account. Faced with the evidence, Richardson ultimately admitted her role in sending the ricin-laced letters. She confessed to attempting to frame her ex-husband as part of her scheme. Richardson was subsequently arrested and charged with multiple federal crimes, including threatening the president and possessing a biological toxin with intent to use as a weapon. In 2014, Richardson pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 18 years in federal prison. At 36 years old, when sentenced, she is projected to remain incarcerated until approximately 2031. Because YouTube will prioritize interactive videos, please comment OK if you find this video interesting. Thank you. Ryan Grantham. Ryan Grantham, known for his roles in shows like Riverdale and films like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, shocked fans and the entertainment industry with the crime that led to his imprisonment. His case began in early 2020 when Grantham, struggling with personal and psychological issues, committed a murder that destroyed his promising career and led to a tragic end to his public life. On March 31, 2020, Grantham shot and killed his mother, Barbara Waite, 64, while she was playing piano in their home. Afterward, he videotaped his mother's body with a GoPro and calmly confessed to the camera, saying, "I shot her in the back of the head." Even more chilling was Grantham's next plan. Instead of calling the police, he drank beer, smoked marijuana, and stared at his mother's body. Then, he loaded his car with weapons, 3 guns, ammunition, 12 homemade Molotov cocktails, camping gear, and directions to Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's residence. He planned to drive to Ottawa with the intention of harming Prime Minister Trudeau, although he ultimately abandoned that intention after driving about 200 kilometers and turned himself into the police in Vancouver. He also considered attacking the Lionsgate Bridge in Vancouver or Simon Fraser University. Grantham later confessed to the crime, citing overwhelming feelings of depression and guilt. In 2022, he pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. The court found his actions to be both premeditated and driven by his deteriorating mental health issues. Grantham was sentenced to life in prison with parole eligibility after 14 years. At 24 years old when sentenced, he will be eligible for parole in 2036 when he is 38. Tamara Lin Sitch. Tamara Lin Sitch, widely known by her WWE stage name Sunny, had a life riddled with personal struggles and legal troubles. She was once a performer, but her life was marred by substance abuse, leading to numerous DUI charges and short jail stints. Her most serious incident occurred in 2022, when Sitch was involved in a fatal car crash in Florida, resulting in the death of 75-year-old Julian Lacatena. According to police reports, Sitch was driving under the influence when she slammed into the back of another vehicle at high speed, causing the crash that claimed Lacatena's life. Following the investigation, it was revealed that Sitch's blood alcohol content was more than 3 times the legal limit. After her arrest for the fatal accident, Sitch faced a litany of charges, including DUI manslaughter, driving with a suspended license, and causing death while operating a vehicle under the influence. In August 2023, Sitch pleaded no contest to the charges, accepting the grave consequences of her actions. She was subsequently sentenced to 17 years in prison. At 50 years old, this sentence means Sitch will be released at 67 with a projected date of 2039. She is currently incarcerated in a Florida state prison. William Shatner. William Shatner, the legendary actor best known as Captain Kirk from Star Trek, has long seemed indestructible. An icon who has defied the passage of time with wit, energy, and an unstoppable career. Yet behind the scenes, Shatner has faced a life-threatening battle. In his late 80s, Shatner was diagnosed with stage 4 melanoma, an aggressive form of skin cancer known for its rapid spread and dangerous prognosis. For Shatner, the diagnosis was shocking. What began as a small spot soon revealed itself to be far more sinister. Doctors acted quickly, recommending surgery to remove the cancerous tissue, but the fight didn't end there. He underwent cutting-edge immunotherapy, a grueling process that harnesses the body's own immune system to attack cancer cells. Even with the best treatment, the shadow of recurrence always lingers. Stage 4 melanoma remains a critical, high-risk condition. Despite these challenges, Shatner has shown remarkable determination and openness. He's spoken candidly about his health, using his platform to encourage early detection and sun safety, hoping to spare others a similar ordeal. Now at nearly 94 years old in 2025, William Shatner continues to inspire fans, not just for his acting legacy, but for his resilience in the face of profound adversity. Neil Diamond. Neil Diamond, whose distinctive voice is forever linked with anthems like Sweet Caroline and etched them deeply into cultural consciousness. For over 50 remarkable years, Diamond reigned supreme as a beloved songwriter and performer. However, in 2018, he delivered a profoundly somber announcement. He had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, a relentless condition that systematically diminishes motor control. Yet Neil Diamond was not one to fade silently. Before fully retiring from his extensive touring career, he courageously completed his monumental 50th anniversary tour. By 2023, he had found peace in a more tranquil existence. He lovingly cherished moments with family and dedicated focus to his well-being. Now, in 2025, his musical legacy continues to thrive, resonating vibrantly. It serves as an everlasting soundtrack of hope, sorrow, and profound happiness, cementing his place in music history. Selma Blair. Selma Blair, known for her memorable roles in Cruel Intentions, Legally Blonde, and Hellboy, has always projected a commanding presence on screen. However, her personal journey has revealed the true depth of her inner strength. For years, she experienced unexplained symptoms, battling exhaustion, pain, and balance issues without clear answers. Finally, in 2018, she received the diagnosis that redefined her life: multiple sclerosis. This news was profoundly impactful. MS had already begun affecting her, making daily activities challenging and forcing a temporary halt to her acting career. Yet, instead of withdrawing from public life, Blair made a courageous choice to share her story. With raw honesty and vulnerability, she invited the world to witness her struggle. Not for pity, but to raise awareness and offer hope to others suffering silently. Since then, Selma has become a dedicated advocate, using her platform to reshape societal attitudes toward disability and chronic illness. By July 2024, she started reclaiming parts of her former life. With renewed strength and determination, she returned to the industry, not as the actress she once was, but as a resilient figure with a profound mission. She continues to inspire, proving that courage isn't the absence of struggle, but the determination to persevere despite it. Olivia Newton-John. Olivia Newton-John was more than just a celebrity, she was an inspiration. From her 1970s breakthrough with chart-topping hits and her iconic role as Sandy in Grease, Olivia captivated audiences globally with her voice, beauty, and unwavering optimism. Yet behind the fame was a woman fighting a personal battle, one that began in 1992 with her initial breast cancer diagnosis. She faced not one, but 3 separate battles with the disease. Each time Olivia confronted cancer with grace, courage, and unwavering optimism. She once declared, "I don't feel like I'm dying, I feel like I'm living." And she truly lived by those words. Even amidst pain, she found purpose. She didn't just fight her disease, she transformed it into a mission. Through the Olivia Newton-John Foundation Fund, she championed research, supported holistic therapies, and brought tangible hope to countless individuals facing similar hardships. Upon her passing in August 2022, Olivia left behind more than records and movie roles. She left a legacy of empathy, advocacy, and hope that endures worldwide. In life and in death, she demonstrated that true strength lies not in avoiding difficulty, but in transforming it into something meaningful. Sam Neill. Sam Neill, the respected actor from Jurassic Park and Peaky Blinders, has always been admired for his subtle charm and impressive acting. Whether captivating as Dr. Alan Grant or evoking sympathy in Hunt for the Wilder People, Neill portrayed his roles effortlessly. However, in 2022, he received a diagnosis of angioimmunoblastic T-cell lymphoma, a rare and aggressive form of blood cancer. Initially, symptoms were minor, just a few lumps. What seemed insignificant quickly escalated, leading him into a whirlwind of chemotherapy and trial treatments. Refusing to surrender, Neill faced the illness with the same quiet determination seen in his famous roles. By March 2023, wonderful news arrived. Sam was in remission, cancer-free, alive. Now, in 2025, at 77, he embraces life with heightened gratitude, turning his experiences into purpose. He has continued acting and openly discussed his journey, supporting others facing similar challenges. Sam Neill is more than just a survivor. He's a storyteller who transformed his toughest chapter into a powerful message of optimism. Dustin Diamond. Dustin Diamond, forever remembered as the eccentric Screech Powers from Saved by the Bell. Appearing on television in the late 1980s, he quickly gained popularity, charming audiences with his quirky charisma. However, fame, especially for young actors, rarely follows a smooth path. In early 2021, Dustin discovered a lump in his throat. The diagnosis was swift and devastating, stage 4 small cell carcinoma. He passed away just 3 weeks later on February 1, 2021, at the age of 44. The news shocked and saddened his fans. Dustin Diamond's story is complex, marked by highs and lows, laughter and sorrow. His untimely departure prompts us to reflect on the delicate line between illusion and reality. Eric Dayne. Eric Dayne, once hailed for his magnetic presence as Dr. Mark McSteamy Sloan on Grey's Anatomy, seemed the embodiment of Hollywood vitality. But in 2024, his life changed dramatically when he was diagnosed with ALS, a progressive and incurable neurological disease. For Dayne, the warning signs started subtly: minor muscle weakness, occasional fatigue, but the reality soon became impossible to ignore. By 2025, Dayne revealed in an emotional interview that he now has one functioning arm left. ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, relentlessly destroys the nerve cells that control movement, robbing sufferers of their independence. For many, such a diagnosis might mean silence or retreat. Instead, Dayne has chosen to speak out, sharing his journey with the world and becoming an advocate for ALS awareness. He openly discusses the emotional toll, the grief, frustration, and moments of fear, but also emphasizes the importance of community, love, and hope. His vulnerability and honesty have inspired fans and brought renewed attention to a disease that desperately needs more research and understanding. Tim Curry, the iconic actor from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, faced a life-changing moment in 2012. A major stroke left him with severely altered movement and an uncertain future. The once dynamic stage presence found his reality profoundly shifted. Yet Curry didn't retreat. He chose a different path, Instead of retirement, he focused on voice acting. His unique, powerful voice became his signature, featured in many animated films and TV shows. His talent is undeniable, but his resilience truly shines. Curry refused to let the stroke define him. He redefined what unwavering determination truly means. His journey inspired audiences, showing how to confront adversity with courage and ingenuity. Tim Curry is more than a survivor. He's a symbol of lasting perseverance. At 79 in 2025, he continues to inspire. He attends fan events, showing his active engagement with his signature friendly demeanor and sharp wit. His story isn't just about physical healing, it's about discovering a new purpose. In an industry quick to dismiss those who face challenges, Tim Curry rewrote his own narrative and made sure his powerful voice was still heard. Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer, born on New Year's Eve in 1959, was once among Hollywood's most captivating and versatile actors. From his cool portrayal of Iceman in Top Gun to his profound Jim Morrison in The Doors, Kilmer built a legacy of unforgettable performances. He even wore the Batman suit in Batman Forever, adding depth to the iconic superhero. Yet, behind the scenes, a deeply personal journey unfolded. In 2015, Kilmer was diagnosed with throat cancer. This was a devastating blow for an actor whose voice was his trademark. Years of treatments, including a tracheostomy, chemotherapy, and radiation, caused lasting damage to his vocal cords. His distinct voice faded to a whisper, but his spirit never wavered. In his 2020 memoir, I'm Your Huckleberry, he candidly shared his challenges, fears, and unwavering determination. In 2021, Kilmer returned to the screen in Top Gun Maverick, reuniting with Tom Cruise in an emotionally powerful scene that moved audiences worldwide. Sadly, Val Kilmer passed away on April 1st, 2025, at 65 from pneumonia complications in Los Angeles. Though he left us too soon, his legacy endures in his roles, his courage, and the countless lives he touched. Still with us? Type 1 in the comments if you're staying until the end. The most compelling stories are yet to come. One in particular will leave you speechless. Michael J. Fox. Michael J. Fox, the incredibly charismatic actor, rose to prominence with seemingly unstoppable energy. From the late 1970s through the 90s, he became one of Hollywood's most profitable and beloved stars. In 1991, at just 29 years old and at the peak of his career, Fox was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. This progressive neurological disorder is typically associated with older individuals. He kept the diagnosis private for 7 years, grappling in silence with a reality that threatened not only his career, but his sense of self. When he finally shared his condition publicly in 1998, the world was shocked. But Fox wasn't seeking sympathy. He was embracing a new role, advocate, fighter, and voice for millions. Rather than retreat, he moved forward. He continued to act, earning Emmy and Golden Globe nominations even as his symptoms worsened. In 2000, he launched the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's research. This is now the largest non-profit funder of Parkinson's drug development worldwide. As of 2025, Fox, now 63, has reduced his professional engagements, but his influence has only increased. Through decades of unwavering advocacy and personal transparency, he has redefined what it means to live with Parkinson's, not as a victim, but as a symbol of hope, humor, and resilience. Alex Tbeck. Alex Tbeck wasn't merely the host of Jeopardy! He was its very heart. For 37 remarkable seasons, he presided over the show with a perfect blend of intellect, humor, and warmth. Over 8,200 episodes later, he became more than a familiar face. He became a daily presence in our lives. His command of trivia, precise timing, and calm demeanor earned him a Guinness World Record and, more importantly, the affection of millions. However, in 2019, fans were stunned when Tbeck disclosed his diagnosis: stage 4 pancreatic cancer. This relentless disease is known for its poor survival rate. At 79, facing daunting odds, he responded with the same grace and honesty he exhibited in every episode. Rather than retreat, he pressed on, choosing transparency over privacy. He transformed his battle into a call for awareness, early detection, and optimism. His unwavering dedication made his fight even more exceptional. Despite enduring chemotherapy and the toll of illness, Tbeck continued to host Jeopardy with dignity. His memoir, The Answer Is, released in 2020, offered fans a glimpse into the life of the beloved icon, revealing his humor, values, fears, and joys. On November 8, 2020, Alex Tbeck passed away at 80, just over a year after his diagnosis. His death left a void not only on television but also in the hearts of countless viewers who saw him as more than a host. Linda Ronstadt. Linda Ronstadt, one of music's most influential voices, built a career that defied genres and redefined the role of women in rock. With over 100 million records sold and numerous awards, Ronstadt didn't just follow trends, she created them. However, in 2013, the music fell silent. Subtle signs had gradually emerged: trembling hands, slight shifts in pitch. But everything became clear with a Parkinson's diagnosis. The disease slowly took away her defining characteristic, her voice. For someone who had effortlessly delivered ballads and anthems, the silence was agonizing. Yet, Linda didn't withdraw. Instead, she remained authentic, speaking with honesty and grace. Unable to sing, she found a new purpose: raising awareness for Parkinson's disease. She used her story to educate and support others. As of May 2025, nearing her 79th birthday, Ronstadt remains powerful. Not through song, but through resilience. Her narrative is no longer solely about music. It's about strength, identity, and the fortitude of a woman who refused to be defined by her losses. Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks, one of Hollywood's most cherished actors, has long captivated audiences with his approachable charm and memorable performances in films like Forrest Gump, Castaway, and Saving Private Ryan. However, behind his on-screen brilliance lies a personal health journey equally compelling. In 2013, Hanks revealed his diagnosis of type 2 diabetes. This condition, while not entirely unexpected, was still impactful. For years, doctors had warned him about being pre-diabetic. Hanks, known for significant weight changes for roles, had frequently pushed his body to extremes. Combined with genetics and a history of unhealthy eating, the odds eventually caught up. But true to form, he didn't dwell on it, he took action. With quiet determination, Hanks committed to improving his health. He now dedicates at least an hour daily to exercise, whether it's a brisk walk, time on the treadmill, or hikes with his dog. His diet, once reliant on processed foods, has completely transformed. He still enjoys occasional treats, but every bite is now conscious, part of a larger mission to maintain control over his health. Do you think Tom Hanks' story can inspire people to prioritize their well-being? Type yes or no in the comments and explain why. Dan Reynolds. Dan Reynolds, the electrifying frontman of Imagine Dragons, has always channeled raw emotion into his music. But it wasn't until a concert in Leeds, UK, that he revealed a pain far deeper than any lyric. For years, Reynolds quietly endured the effects of ankylosing spondylitis. This chronic autoimmune disease causes the body to attack its own joints, leading to persistent inflammation, stiffness, and pain. He dismissed it through high school and early fame, attributing the constant aches in his knees and ankles to the demands of his work. But during that show, Reynolds made a bold decision to share his truth. The moment was not only cathartic but transformative. Inspired by the impact of his words, he launched a web series titled This Is My Life Live. It highlighted others living with the same condition, providing them the platform he once desired. His vulnerability became a beacon for many who had silently suffered. In addition to ankylosing spondylitis, Reynolds also lives with ulcerative colitis, another autoimmune disorder. For years, he tried to ignore both diagnoses. Now he's taking a different approach, addressing them directly. Thanks to a balanced mix of diet, exercise, medication, and mindfulness, Reynolds is in remission and continues to thrive. By being open, he's not only managing his own health but also changing how chronic illness is discussed publicly. His message is simple but powerful. You can live a fulfilling life even when your body is working against you. Tommy Chong. Tommy Chong, the celebrated counterculture icon and one half of the renowned Cheech and Chong duo, has entertained audiences for years. However, in 2008, Chong was diagnosed with prostate cancer. Initially, doctors told him it was slow-growing and not cause for immediate concern, but over time the illness became more aggressive. Rather than pursuing a conventional medical route, Chong, always unconventional, turned to something deeply personal, herbal remedies. He began exploring herbal therapies as part of his treatment. He credits natural remedies with managing his symptoms and maintaining his spirit. For Chong, herbal medicine wasn't just a treatment, it was a philosophy, a lifelong belief in nature's ability to heal and liberate. Now 86 years old in 2025, Chong remains unapologetically himself, sharp, outspoken, and still making audiences laugh. He has continued to perform, podcast, and advocate for herbal medicine rights, blending humor with activism in his distinctive style. Catherine Zeta-Jones. Catherine Zeta-Jones, known for her captivating performances in films like Chicago and The Mask of Zorro, has always appeared to be the epitome of glamour and control. However, behind the red carpet smiles and award-winning roles was a personal struggle she could no longer disregard. In 2010, while her husband Michael Douglas was fighting a life-threatening battle with stage 4 throat cancer, Zeta-Jones became his support. She managed his treatments, cared for their children, and tried to maintain stability. Yet, even the most resilient structures can crumble under stress. The relentless pressure took its toll, and Zeta-Jones found herself overwhelmed by anxiety, exhaustion, and despair. In April 2011, she made the brave decision to seek treatment at a mental health facility. There, she was diagnosed with bipolar II disorder, a condition characterized by extreme lows and periods of hypomania. Her stay lasted just 5 days, but it marked a turning point in her life. Rather than conceal her diagnosis, Zeta-Jones openly discussed it, helping to reduce the stigma associated with mental health. She sought further treatment in 2013 and has since become a strong advocate for mental health awareness. She continues to balance career, family, and self-care, demonstrating that strength isn't about being invulnerable. It's about knowing when to seek help and having the courage to persevere. Wendy Williams. Wendy Williams, the outspoken host of daytime talk, built her career on saying what others wouldn't. However, in recent years, her most significant statements have been about her health. Diagnosed with Graves' disease, an autoimmune disorder affecting the thyroid, Williams initially tried to push through, as many women do, dismissing symptoms while prioritizing others. In a candid interview, she admitted that neglecting her health nearly cost her everything. We as women, especially if we have families, we tend to take care of everybody but ourselves, she said, urging viewers to listen to their bodies. From the outset, she was transparent, discussing her battles with fatigue, anxiety, and fluctuating weight. These symptoms baffled many until she named them. Despite battling Graves' disease, menopause, and mounting personal challenges, Wendy refused to abandon her career. She remained dedicated to The Wendy Williams Show, appearing even when her body needed rest. By 2018, however, she prioritized her health, stepping back, entering rehab, and seeking the care she required. By 2025, Wendy is back home, recovering and recentering her life. While her television return remains uncertain, her spirit remains strong. Appreciative of her fans and more self-aware than ever, she continues her journey not just as an entertainer but as a survivor. Proof that strength sometimes means stepping out of the spotlight to heal. Kathleen Turner. Kathleen Turner, the captivating actress who rose to prominence in the 1980s with her distinct voice and fiery presence, was once the embodiment of fearless Hollywood glamour. But behind the scenes, her world was quietly unraveling. In the early 90s, Turner began experiencing unexplained pain. The diagnosis was rheumatoid arthritis, a chronic autoimmune disease that slowly transformed movement into unbearable agony. Fearing potential repercussions, she chose to keep it a secret. As her posture changed and her physical appearance altered, tabloids speculated, labeling her an alcoholic. They were unaware of the more complex reality. Turner later admitted that alcohol became a coping mechanism, a means to alleviate the constant pain. But even as her body struggled, her spirit remained strong. In 2002, she made a courageous decision. She entered rehab, not only to address her drinking, but to reclaim her health and peace of mind. That decision marked the beginning of her transformation. Now Turner embraces life on her own terms, healthy, balanced, and confident. Gracing the stage and screen occasionally, she is no longer pursuing stardom, she's seeking truth. Nick Jonas. Nick Jonas has progressed significantly since his early days as a teen idol. But behind the fame is a personal battle he's waged since age 13, type 1 diabetes. What began as a frightening diagnosis, marked by weight loss, exhaustion, and confusion, has since evolved into a lifelong mission. He aims to educate, empower, and support others living with the disease. And in 2025, Jonas brought that mission to the nation's biggest stage, the Super Bowl. In an impressive advertisement, Jonas introduced the world to the Dexcom G7. This cutting-edge continuous glucose monitor eliminates the need for traditional finger pricks. It's not just a device, it's a revolution in diabetes management. For Jonas, it's also personal. In it, he reflected on the isolation he experienced after diagnosis and how far he's come in understanding, managing, and even embracing the condition. Through his work and openness about his journey, Nick Jonas isn't simply managing his condition, he's redefining what it means to live fully with it. Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne, one of the most influential figures in modern hip-hop, has captivated fans with his lyrical talent and relentless work ethic. However, behind the verses and chart-topping hits is a quieter battle he kept hidden for years. Wayne has epilepsy, a neurological condition that causes unpredictable seizures. Initially, he kept his diagnosis private, unsure of potential reactions. But everything changed after a near-fatal episode landed him in the hospital. That hospitalization wasn't an isolated incident. Wayne has experienced multiple seizures over the years, many triggered by exhaustion, stress, and career demands. Some have occurred mid-flight, forcing emergency landings and raising concerns about his safety. But instead of letting fear or stigma silence him, Wayne chose to speak out. He increased awareness of a condition that's often misunderstood. Today, he continues to dominate the music world, but with a new sense of purpose. By sharing his story, Lil Wayne has initiated important conversations about epilepsy and health within the entertainment industry. His resilience isn't just about surviving seizures, it's about redefining strength, using his platform to entertain and empower. Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis, the action hero who transformed Die Hard into a cultural phenomenon and redefined the modern leading man, faces a battle unlike any he's portrayed on screen. In March 2022, the world was shocked when Willis announced his retirement from acting due to aphasia. This condition impacts communication skills, but the full truth emerged in February 2023. Willis had been diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia, FTD. This rare and aggressive brain disorder gradually impairs language and behavior. For an actor whose voice, presence, and timing made him a Hollywood icon, the diagnosis was devastating. Yet behind the scenes, his family has rallied together with fierce love and unity. His daughter Tallulah has shared how music now creates a powerful connection between them, allowing for moments beyond words. His wife Emma, in her emotional reflections, has revealed the challenging but deeply human experience of caregiving, where heartbreak and love coexist. As of 2025, Bruce's world is quieter, but still full of meaning. The Willis family continues to share glimpses of their life, celebrating birthdays, milestones, and everyday moments with warmth. Their openness about Bruce's journey has provided comfort to families facing similar situations. Though the future is uncertain, the love surrounding Bruce is unwavering, a testament to a family that refuses to allow a disease to define the man they cherish. Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson, the legendary Hollywood maverick with an unmatched 12 Oscar nominations, helped write the rulebook for modern screen acting, and then, almost without warning, slipped out of sight. Beginning in the early 2010s, entertainment outlets reported that Nicholson was quietly turning down new scripts because of persistent memory problems. Insiders told *Radar* and were quoted by *The Guardian* that the 76-year-old star could no longer remember his lines. Subsequent pieces amplified those concerns, suggesting possible dementia, and noting that friends had watched him grow more withdrawn as remembering even casual details became difficult. Rather than fight the rumors on talk show couches or red carpets, Nicholson simply stopped showing up. From 2013 onward, he skipped award shows, premieres, even the Lakers' courtside seat that once served as his unofficial second office. In rare comments, he insisted the mind's still there, yet admitted that the grind of memorizing pages of dialogue no longer appealed to him. By 2025, now 88, he spends most days inside his longtime compound on Mulholland Drive in Beverly Hills, a 3-acre retreat packed with decades of memorabilia and memories of his larger-than-life era. Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman, known for his unique voice and commanding presence, has been a symbol of strength and wisdom. But behind the scenes, the 86-year-old has faced numerous challenges. In July 2023, while promoting Special Ops Lioness, Freeman had to temporarily step back due to a minor infection. The illness caused him to cancel appearances, including international events alongside Zoe Saldana and Nicole Kidman. It was a stark reminder that even icons are human. But Freeman's resilience has always been evident. Since a car accident in 2008 left him with nerve damage, he's lived with fibromyalgia. This condition is characterized by chronic pain and fatigue. The accident left his left hand largely immobile, leading him to wear a compression glove to manage circulation. Yet Freeman has never allowed this to limit him. Back in action and portraying Edwin Mullins in Special Ops Lioness, Freeman defies limitations. His commitment to his craft remains strong. Whether commanding the screen or quietly enduring pain, Morgan Freeman exemplifies that strength comes not from being untouched, but from showing up regardless of the challenges. These aren't just cautionary tales, they're shocking reminders that fame can't hide the darkest secrets forever. Each case is a stark fall from stardom to infamy, leaving ruined lives and unanswered questions behind. Which story left you speechless or changed your view the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to know how these revelations hit you. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for more unbelievable stories from behind Hollywood's closed doors. Who should we expose next? Your voice could decide our next investigation. Stay curious, stay tuned, and see you in the next video.